Welcome to another edition of the Life Vision Project. My guest for this module is the co-founder of AMPed. He's a Life University 1999 graduate and has been practicing in South Atlanta with his wife Amanda since 2003, I believe. I know that Jeremy started practicing in 2000, but Amanda joined him later in 2003. He's also the co-founder of The Mind Tweak, themindtweak.com, providing chiropractic educational information that is modern and cutting edge. So Jeremy, welcome to the Life Vision Project. So happy to have you with us today.
Yeah, man, it's awesome to be here. I'm excited for everything that's going on with the Life University and the Life Vision Project, and I'm glad to be part of it.
Well, thank you. So the title of this module is How to Graduate and Build Your Life Vision. You know, the concept that a graduating chiropractor is going to have to struggle for years in practice before achieving success has certainly been heard by many, and graduating students in many cases have actually bought into that philosophy. I mean, I hear it all the time. Yet many graduates go into practice and succeed in short order, like you did, like I did. So in your opinion, what's the difference between these two groups? And what could be done so more chiropractors live a successful professional life, live a successful professional life vision?
That's a great question, Jill. I know that's the question that racks everybody's brain when the colleges and the leaders look back and see see so many successful chiropractors, but also see kind of the field of dead ones, per se. But I think the biggest thing is if you're coming from a student perspective, and as you know, we do a lot with students. We have the launch program that actually visits chiropractic colleges. I personally was at, not in the last 2 years, I've been at 10 different chiropractic colleges, on some off campus, but a lot of them on campus, teaching students and kind of just getting a vibe for what's going on. And it hasn't changed since when we graduated. The key concepts are preparation, are a willingness to learn, a willing to be trainable. I think the hard part for all of us, especially as we go through something like chiropractic school, is we not only do we get beat down through having to pass everything to boards and all these type of things, but I think also that if we're not careful, we'll have a mindset that we know it all by the time we get to at life 14th quarter. Some of the schools are 10th try, so you can graduate with this know it all attitude, and then if you're not careful, you get spanked in the marketplace, because as we know, the chiropractic college is different than the marketplace and the rules are different. So I think the best thing if you want to graduate successful is the preparation. I know when we go to the schools, the rule that applies is Pareto's principle, 80-20 rule. So we go and you have these events that are phenomenal events. Chiropractors like yourself and other chiropractors, we have these amazing chiropractors that all go back and want to give back free, no charge. It's on campus. It's very easy for the students to attend. Yeah, you have a school that may have 800 students, but yet you have 10% of the school show up, 80%, or, and it's like, man, we're all, and I understand there's obligations, but you say, man, only 10%. I really think it comes back to, Pareto's principle, that you have that 20% of students that want to go the extra mile. So the goal is, how do we get the other 80% to get on board? And I think that's that's our goal in everything that we're doing, and helping students to not be complacent in their journey through chiropractic school and even into practice. Not settling for less than they could. And setting goals and being prepared and having the opportunity that shows up in that preparation, going for it and really setting out on their own, whether they want to be an associate, whether they want to open their own practice, regardless of where they're at, whatever their sole purpose is in their practice or their journey, being successful at that. Doesn't mean they necessarily need to open a practice, but, having choices. That's one thing that we always say is there's nothing worse than getting into chiropractic school and having no choices, and being forced into a situation that may not be beneficial for them. The goal is to really have choices at the end of that journey, and then they'll have stepping stones to be successful sooner than later. And, we're huge proponents of there is no starvation. BJ Palmer said it himself, there is no starvation period in chiropractic. If you take the right steps and you have mentors in your life and you get around people that are like yourself. I mean, that's an age-old principle, I think it was Jim Rohn who said, show me your 5 closest associates or friends or people you hang out with, and I'll show your future. So in chiropractic school, you have to be careful of that, and in life too, beyond chiropractic school. You look around who you're hanging out with, look at those people if you're the smartest person in the room, you may want to reevaluate who's in the room.
Yeah, I'm always looking to meet people that are a lot smarter than me for sure, because I find it's more challenging. And every time you have a challenge, you have a great opportunity. I know that for myself, I had a great mentor prior to leaving chiropractic school, and I didn't have a starvation period. So, I was in the black literally my first week in practice. I made more money my first week in practice than my expenses, which for many it was like, wow, how cool would that be? And I'd love for you to share your story, because I know that you've had probably the largest practice in Georgia for over a decade, and I'd be curious, or well, I'd like you to share how you actually got there, not the entire journey, but how did you start? How did Jeremy Hess start? You graduate from Life University, and you have no starvation period. What did you do to get there? What happened prior to graduation? What happened immediately after graduation?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's just so I don't miss it in the process of telling you this. My wife was probably a big factor, Jill. So meeting her was one of the big factors, right? But in Life College, and when I was there, it was the SID years. It was when the school was the largest. I was there during the Olympics, 96, 95, 96, 97, 98, and a 99 grad. And so it was the biggest problem on campus was parking. And it might still be that way. I don't know.
It is.
Yeah, it's always parking, right? But that time, there was close to 4,000 graduate students. So it was this amazing place, and life still is that way. That's because again, we go around to the chiropractic schools, and life has this sense of utopic chiropractic experience. It just feels good, and that's kind of like being in the mother's womb. It feels so good. It's warm and cozy. The problem is that the birthing process, right?
Yes.
So in the womb there, I was involved in, there was at the time there was a communications club called Point Zero Club. So it was like about chiropractic communication. I went to that. And, I loved the philosophy of chiropractic. I still do. Got into the green books and all that kind of good stuff. And then went to different. Actually, I remember going to. Went to DE, went to Guy Reekman, went back when he was with Joe Felicia. I remember being a student and going to at least two of their events. I guess it was called the Renaissance.
Renaissance,
yes. What they called it.
Renaissance.
So as a student, just really getting planted in those kind of things, and surrounding myself with chiropractic and whatnot. So graduated chiropractic college, and opening up through a long series of sequence of events, ending up actually in South Atlanta, and just started kicking off. And honestly, in the beginning, we had a great practice. We were successful from the beginning in the sense of meeting our budgets and making money. For a while, we were floating at around 200 visits or so a week myself, and then Amanda joined the practice 3 years later, and we got to 350 together, which is a great practice. And again, insurance is better than and all those type of things. So it was much I don't want to say easier, but the money came a little quicker with insurance and whatnot. So, but I knew that there was more, because you'd hear about these people who saw all these numbers, and how, they did it, and it seemed so easy. And so we got with different mentorship. There was actually 2 different men. My dad was a serial entrepreneur himself, so he always mentored me, and multiple other mentors, 2 of them specifically. And through the process, by 2005, 2006, 70, 100 visits, 900 visits. And, anyway, long story short, over the next, between 2006 and now, consistently at one point, we were, for about 3 years, we were seeing about 13, 14, 15, 100 visits a week. A lot of work, but very satisfying work, just seeing people, seeing the community be better, and, and feeling like we're actually making a difference in the community, and just, all the stories and testimonials, and just live on that. That's such a high, chiropractic high of anytime I felt, just with all the stuff that goes on in our life that, maybe, this or that, whenever you get in there and start adjusting, and those numbers of people, it was just such a high. It was like everything disappeared, and it was just, me and the people, or, whoever that chiropractor and the people just adjusting one room to the next. And, that was real high. I love that. And I still love that today. And that's a great way to actually forget about everything and just start getting adjust rooms and love on people and adjust people, and, tell them chiropractic, and let them know they're going to be better, and those type of things. So, and, as we went on, we realized that actually what happened is Life University started their PEAK program, which if people aren't familiar, other schools may call it their preceptorship or intern program for students. And we started having students coming out of the practice, and that really showed us that we could really help mentor so many others. Because, before it was just myself and Amanda, and we were just chugging along, and, it was all about the community. And it still is about the community. It's just the community, then in our mind, became bigger. So then it was like, wait a second, we have these students come through. They spend 6 months in the practice. We had a few of them go out and just be more successful than we were, because I saw them growing in the first 6 months, year. I was like, man, these guys are like doing more than we did in the first 6 months, a year in practice. So that's how we just decided to really start a mentorship program called AMPed. And now it's just, blowing up. There's practices opening all the time that are, doing so much more, first year, 200, 300, 400, 500 visits first year is just on that, I know there's always those exceptions, but these aren't exceptions. These people are all just doing so well. And then the goal is to bring it back full circle, because the biggest problem in chiropractic, or one of the biggest problems, is, the schools are so dependent on student loans as their budget, to meet their budgets. And one of the goals, hopefully in the next, in our lifetime, the next 10, 20 years, is to see that the schools can actually have a big part of their budgets come from alumni support, and not so be so dependent on, the student loan money, and then that goes down to the CC and everything else like that. So I really believe successful practices are the key to advancing chiropractic on a financial forefront, and also educating the world about what we truly love and desire. So that's really the thing. Now we get to see our own community, but also all these other pockets around the country, really around the world, just blossoming, and just seeing people and have fruit in that. Know that we were part of that. And the goal is for all of us. They say the two big human needs to really be happy, if that's what we're going for, is growth and contribution. So we all want to grow. We all want to contribute to a cause bigger than ourselves. I think that's with chiropractors. Even if we're successful in our own practices, there's a point where we feel like we're just stuck in the four walls of our practice, potentially. Where we get bored. As even seeing a lot of people, you have to fight boredom on some level, and doing other things like getting involved in, like we're doing here, a project where we can expand the life vision and the vision of graduating students and chiropractors at large, is something bigger than ourselves. So that's what we want to attempt to do, and that's what we're doing as much as possible, so we can, just have so much, just feel like we're contributing more. And at the end of the day, when we put our head down on the pillow, that's really what matters. And when on our tombstones, I guess one day they say, hey, they contribute a lot, and that's what matters.
They showed up, right? It starts by showing up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, sure,
share with the audience, if you would, your life vision today, but also share how it evolved. Because my suspicion is that your life vision of your level of contribution, how you're going to serve the world through chiropractic, obviously that vision has evolved over time. So if you can sort of share that progression of your life vision, and maybe start with what's your life vision now, and then segue back as to how you got there.
Great. Well, that's a huge question, and
it is.
And one of the things I'll preface this with is, sometimes when I hear about these questions, you can think that you have it all figured out. So by no means, the contribution, the growth, the life vision is always changing and expanding. And the truth is that it doesn't matter what we do. Some of the times things suck. You know what I mean? Every process, every growth, every contribution that we're involved in, there's parts that we necessarily may not like, but we got to grind through those things to make it work, and to see the growth and contribution we want to do. So I think at this point in time, the goal would be to just have fruit and have contribution. So many practices that are being successful, and being able to touch those practices in a small way, those people in a small way, and have a feeling like when we hear about their practices, they're seeing hundreds of people, and just know in the back of my mind that in some small way we have fruit in that testimonials of those people and those children and those practices and those communities, and knowing that we made a difference there. I think that's a huge thing. I'd love to see chiropractic as a whole, schools like Life University really changing the landscape of chiropractic like, Life is, and so many schools that are surrounding like Life, of really taking it to, it's always been, back when I was listening as a student, we listen to Reggie Gold and, other people, and it was always making a subluxation free world, and that's still something that is in the back of my mind, it's because we heard it so much, and that's what we love, and that's what we live for. And I don't necessarily hear it as much anymore, but it doesn't mean it's not still alive. And I remember going to DE and different things. Always the the 100th monkey. I'm always hearing that story, the story of the 100th monkey, right? And again, maybe people still tell that story, but I remember that, and it's like, are we ever going to get this this 100th monkey to get it? But I really believe that we're making strides, and I believe that people can step outside themselves, sacrifice, and avoid complacency, and know that there's going to be tough times in fighting for something that's bigger than ourselves, because it's challenging. Because at the end of the day, we can all be selfish and just sit back and enjoy our own success and let the world go by. But I think there's a good heart and soul in actually fighting some fights and sacrificing some of the things that maybe we could do for ourselves, but realize that for the greater cause, it's worth the sacrifice, it's worth the fight, it's worth the rally, it's worth even some tears, and to know that we're making a huge difference, not just for ourselves, but our children, our children's children, in the sense of having a subluxation-free world and really seeing things tilt back the way we want from a vitalistic perspective. So I think that's where I'm at now. Where I was, I think before it was just really building the practice. I think one caution sometimes for students opening practice is maybe to put the cart before the horse, in the sense you got to get the practice going. You got to there's got to be for me anyway. There was always a sense of, and that's why I teach young docs, is because we have this. I want to do something bigger than myself. Well, what you need to focus on now as a young doc, or if you're opening practice or you're newly open practice, is you'll build a foundation. A financial foundation, an emotionally stable foundation, a physically stable. Don't neglect yourself, your own body. As we all age, we know that. I'm in the 40 and Up Club. Taking care of yourself is just a big part of taking care of your community, and build that foundation and those habits. And then once you build that foundation, financially, emotionally, physically, mentally, and even spiritually, I think then you can have a springboard to go outside the four walls of your practice and really do big things. However, even further back, one thing I want to just mention, if students are watching and tuning into this, I really believe, and I tell this to students all the time, that students in most cases have a bigger impact on chiropractic than most practicing chiropractors. And I say that because when you're out in practice, again, you can get in your own practice, and if you end up having a starvation period, and you start getting pressed, then you may end up doing things that you never really desired to do in chiropractic practice. Whereas a student, if you're a student that's has a bigger vision, and you're doing things, you're getting put in the chiropractic, if you can drag 2 or 3 or 10 other students with you to different events, to like the Life Vision Project or other chiropractic conferences like ours, Amped, if you can drag other students and you can get them to shift their mindset and their vision, it's so easy to do that as a student, because as students, we're sponges and we have such a access to turn on the dime and go in a different direction. Whereas when you're in practice, changing the course of the ship in practice is much more difficult and challenging than it is a student. So I highly recommend that. Students actually, they don't know it, but they can make a bigger difference in chiropractic in most cases than many chiropractors can.
I know that for myself. I dragged students to come with me when I went to events as a chiropractic student, but I also dragged young chiropractors with me. And I remember early on, paying for some guys to show up because they were just having such a rough time in practice. And a lot of what I learned from my mentors, as you mentioned a while ago. Find a great mentor and don't try to reinvent the wheel, as we say, right? Focus on what they teach you and then implement. Learn and implement. Yeah. And the whole goal of the Life Vision Project is to start supplying some of these tools, as you do and as others do.
Absolutely. Well, if you think about it, we all do that with our chiropractic techniques. If you want to learn Thompson technique, or you want to learn SOT, or you want to learn TRT, whatever you want to learn, you follow a system that works. You don't just start adjusting things. You follow within the system of Thompson or SOT or Gonson, whatever system you're doing, you follow the system, because then there's an analysis. And also when something isn't working out, you can say, wait a second, let me go back and check the variables here so I can actually get this problem correct. There's a framework. Practice is no different, Sheil. There's got to be a framework. Whatever system you choose, there's different, the truth is just like chiropractic techniques. In a sense, they're all very similar. There's just a different way to go about it.
Exactly.
And, same thing with practice systems of how to take someone from the street and have them in the practice and educate them and have them stick around hopefully for life as long as possible. There's different systems, but essentially the systems are all very similar, just a different maybe personality fits, just like techniques. So for students or chiropractors to think that they're going to do that with a technique but not with their practice, I agree with you. They need to get with mentorship and other people that are, hey, hang out just like you would. I remember going to school when you go to clubs, you visit some different clubs. Eventually, you say, I really like Tom. There's something, what I mean? There's something about this technique that I really like. You got drawn towards it. Well, same thing with different practice systems or ways to educate people. Get around a few and see what fits and learn that and just dog that thing until you know it backwards and forwards, and then in practice you can just run with that and be successful. So there's no difference. So for some reason, I agree with you. And this isn't a chiropractic thing. This is just a human nature thing, because if you look at other professions, because sometimes you think the problem's only chiropractic, but actually if you look into podiatry and dentistry and law, you'll see that all the professions have similar problems in the sense that there's these attorneys that are really super successful, and then there's a group of attorneys that just don't seem to get it. And I really believe it comes back to human nature of really knowing that you can being trainable and being coachable, and being okay with saying, hey, just like all athletes, all the great athletes, they all have coaches and people watching their every move and saying, hey, just next time turn here a little bit or switch your angle here. I mean, it is what it is. We all need coaching and mentorship and training.
I'll tell you, that's a nugget of information that you just shared there, though, because people's willingness to be coachable is the key. If they believe that they know everything and they're not coachable, they're not willing to learn from a master, how's that going to set them up for success, right? So,
yeah, absolutely.
My mentor was Jim Parker. I was fortunate that I was bold enough to go up to his suite in New York City when I was a junior in chiropractic school, when he said to people, if you want to hang out tonight, just come on up to my suite. And none of my friends, I was there with 7 students with me, none of them wanted to go. They were all, no, we're going to go out on the town. I was fortunate enough, bold enough, even though I was still shy, I walked up to the suite and thought, even if I just peek my head in there to see what kind of people hang out there and what that room looks like, because they had said that President Reagan had stayed there the weekend before in that same room at the New York downtown Hilton. I stuck my head in there, and there was like 30 people in the suite. I walked in, he took a liking to me, I took a liking to him. And when I started practice, and I remember very specifically, I started practice, in July. By September, I know where I was already at number-wise. I was at a seminar with him. I showed him my stats. 2 months later, went to the next seminar, showed him my stats, and he said, Joe, I really didn't think you were telling me the truth back in September. He said, I thought you were fudging your numbers, but now that I see your stat sheets, I know you're telling me the truth. How did you do that? And I said, I did what you told me to. He was like, oh, what a concept. You mean you actually listened and you're doing exactly what I said? I said, I'm doing exactly what you said.
Yeah,
and it was that simple. I just took a system, as you said, that worked. I mean, he built 18 successful clinics in Texas. I took a system that worked. I implemented the system. It felt good to me. I was sharing from an honest space. I was providing a care plan. That was what I would provide for what he would say. I always provide a care plan based on what you would provide for your mother, father, brother, sister, child. And that's where I came from. So I'd like to know how that played a role in your practice, something of similarity. Because obviously you created a great practice because you had a system.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love that you said, like Jim Parker had said, create a care plan you would give to your mother, sister, father, brother, and that's a big part of practice is integrity.
Yes.
And the being real with people and practice what you preach, I guess, per se, is what people say. And then we do that. So I love the fact that in the practice, and with our team, we have our team members, we've had, all of our team, we have team members been with us for 12 years now. All of them are, I have 6 team members, actually I have 8, but 6 of them have been there for 6 or more years, between 6 and 12 years. And I really believe that that's built on trust and integrity and loyalty. And we cherish those values. We actually have values for our practice. And those are some of the values we practice amongst our team. So creating an atmosphere, including the team, which is huge. If you're going to go to, like we talked about, something like the Life Vision Project, you got to bring your team. Your team has to know as much about chiropractic as you do on some level. Maybe not necessarily the technique aspects or X-ray, but in educating, explaining, the concepts to practice members. Because if they don't, it's going to be basically double-sided. They're going to get one information from you and something else from the team. And this, Jill. But so it's huge. Sometimes we feel like the chiropractic assistants they're just a receptionist. Well, if they're just a receptionist in your practice, that may be one of the problems. You have to be educated and trained, and that comes back to proper team meetings and team models, all this kind of stuff. But so I think that's a big thing is the team aspect of getting that right, or at least trying to get that right. And in the practice, building your practice on value, on integrity. I know Reggie Gold, and another Reggie Gold comment, he always said, "Can you afford you?" And so when it comes to fees in your practice, can you afford you? I know that there's probably always been. I know there's facets of chiropractic that are into big case fees, and just see less people and get these big case fees, 3 month or 2 month, $6,000 or $7,000, Now at this point, we're both thankful to say we could afford that. But can could you afford you? Think of the people out there, we have to make sure sometimes as successful docs, we get in this bubble that, everybody coming in our practice has just as much potential income as we do. Well, that's not necessarily the case.
Not a fact.
So yeah, so the care plans, and can you afford you? Make it affordable for the community. Make sense of it. Be integrity. Have honesty. We have a big, I don't know, it's probably 10 foot by 8 foot. It's old Norman Rockwell, post on the wall, and it looks cool, and it says, it's basically the golden rule: do unto others, you do unto yourself. Basically, treat others, you treat yourself. And we're big on that in the practice. So, and also a big theme in our practice with our team and just with anybody we mentor is that we do it for the outcome, not the income. Yeah, the income's nice, and we all love that, and we all want to be financially set. And matter of fact, a big goal of ours is we want to be givers. We teach that to our people we mentor is, hey, be financially successful in chiropractic. That's just one facet. That doesn't mean you're success, but when you have the finances, give back to the institutions and the things that support chiropractic that you love. But also, we teach the team is, hey, we don't do this for the income, we do it for the outcome. And the outcome being seeing people healed and healthy through chiropractic, seeing practices in other parts of the world grow, and them touching lives and making a difference. And that's a big thing we focus on too.
I love that line. I'd never heard the line said that way. That's certainly how I practice, because it was about, helping people. But do it for the outcome, not for the income. And when you're focused on the outcome, guaranteed you're going to get the income.
Yeah.
But if you focus on making the income, you might not get the outcome, and the whole thing is going to fall apart.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I remember, and we all fall into this. I remember early in practice, I remember when we were, we were growing, but even if you're growing fast, you still have those thoughts of, where the next new one's going to come from, or, if you're tight on money, and in the beginning we were making money, but, there's still a lot of bills coming when you're opening up, and you're still, you have to be careful not to be focused on the money, Now it's easy, right? We just go and serve people. We don't ever wonder where the new ones are going to come from, because we have a practice, we have built a machine, and that's what you want to build. You have to build a machine where, there's reactivations, there's new ones, there's just referrals are coming from everywhere, and that's exciting. But in the beginning, it's a little tougher. You have to stay. Your focus has to be really iron, laser focused on really that outcome, and knowing that the other saying you heard before is if the why is big enough, the how will take care of itself, right? So we have this why we're doing what we're doing on a daily basis. And, really, if you're listening to, you've heard all these, maybe you heard these things before, but, having an early morning routine and getting your head, your mindset prepared, and, starting your day out right, and having goals and setting those. And another line I like is successful people think on paper. And that means, you got to, I know there's all the, me and Mike were talking about this the other day. We got I know I'm like task oriented, you got, to-do list. I'm not saying that, but when you're setting out for like, especially practice, like your weekly or monthly, or definitely your yearly goals for your personal life and your professional life and everything you want to do, man, there's nothing better than, getting out the old legal pad or whatever and writing that stuff on paper, so the next step is, posting around your home or your personal office. And there's a great study. I'm sure you've seen it, Sheila. If people haven't, you can Google it. It's called the Harvard Business School Goal Study. And basically, they track people for 25 years. Long story short, you need to go and look it up. It's the Harvard Business School Goal. I think Harvard Business School Goal Study. It'll pop up. Basically, they looked at their graduates and they tracked them for 25, 30 years, and they found out that there was basically three or four categories. Basically, the ones that made no goals were in the lowest earning incomes, and those who thought about their goals but never put them on paper were in the next earning income. But it was like the top 3 or 4% that actually had goals written on paper that they reviewed, on some type of consistent basis. Those are the top earning 3% of the Harvard Business School, and they did this, for 25 years. So, thinking on paper and really, really getting that wrapped around your head of really what you want. And we've all heard that that's a biblical truth and a success truth and motivation truth. But a lot of times we hear it, but we don't take action.
Yeah, and I think that you've shared so many great nuggets, and the closing one that you said, take action. Yeah. We're up to our 30 minutes that we'd agreed upon. So I want to close this module, but you shared so many important points, and I would encourage those who have watched this to go back and listen to it again and start strategizing and take action. What a great way to close this module with the action point. Closing comment, Dr. Jeremy?
Take massive immediate action.
Great closing comment. On that note, thank you so much for taking time out this morning. I know that it's the day before New Year's. Everybody is super busy, but it means a lot to us, to the entire Life University team, that you took the time to be with us and share your thoughts, your wisdom, your insights on the Life Vision Project. Thanks so much. Look forward to seeing you in the real near future and having you as a Life Vision speaker.